Oh my god. They did it again! In the first story, Prankster, they swapped characters' names again! Jeremiah, the protagonist's name, is swapped with the side character, Parker. I mean, look at this. That's not Parker, that's Jeremiah. And you know what else? Not only has this happened twice, both stories were co-authored by Ellie Cooper. Ellie, are you okay? Is everything all right at home? Blink twice if you're under duress. I am! I already spent 6.5 minutes railing on these books last time for this exact same thing, so I'm not doing it again. But I am going to make another amendment to the lawsuit. Scholastic and AFK Books now owe me $6,789,104 in damages. I don't know if that much money has ever even been sent through PayPal, but at this point, Scholastic can just airdrop the money from a blimp like World War II propaganda posters. I want my fucking money, FNAF. Give me my money. Where's my fucking money? Where? Jeremiah's life feels like one big joke, metaphorically because Fazbear Entertainment just bought out the game studio he works at, and the girl he yearns for is smitten with his more charismatic coworker, Parker. And also literally because Parker just likes playing pranks on the poor guy. So when Jeremiah arrives at the office one day and finds a rather grisly birthday surprise, naturally he suspects it's just another prank. Or is it? This story completely sidelined me because I thought I knew exactly where it was going to go. I thought Jeremiah was just going to be tired of being the butt of every joke and he was going to try and pull an epic prank against Parker to try and impress the girl whose name is Hope. But then he ends up making everything worse and just killing everyone in the process. I'll throw in Fazbear something or other, just for good measure. But no. While the first half of the story was pretty sterile, with Jeremiah's nice guy personality starting to annoy me, the second half takes a surprisingly dark turn. He finds what he assumes is a surprise birthday party for him, but then Parker's voice through an intercom leads him to various rooms throughout the office where he finds clues buried in like severed body parts that he eventually realizes belongs to Parker and Hope. Jesus Christ. When did this become Fazsaw? The whole second half feels like a delightfully grim tribute to the pizza party minigame from Help Wanted. And the ending? What the hell? Where was all of this in the Fazbear Frights before? I don't even want to give the ending away because it's just that well done and that uneasy. All I'll say about it is that while there's no like true antagonist reveal, it's strongly implied that it's something in the VR game that Parker and Hope were playtesting, probably Glitch Trap, though I'm glad he did not impregnate anyone this time around. Seems like I'm wrapping up early on, but apart from the first half, which moved kind of slow and kind of annoyed me, Prankster was really solid. On the shorter side too, and all three of the stories in this one were on the shorter side. What else can I say? Darkly written, a lot of twists and turns. I'm surprised a story like this showed up so late in the series. Let's move on. Next. Joel's hot-headedness lands him in hot water when he runs over one of those kids at play statues with his truck one night. And then runs over an actual kid the next evening. Too fearful to report anything, the subsequent missing persons investigation smothers Joel with guilt, compounded by a horribly familiar visitor that seems to follow him wherever he goes. Firstly, this is scary now? Okay, makes sense, I guess. You, totally weren't scrapped for ideas and just saw something vaguely evocative on your morning drive.
Okay, for my 307th book, this couple is attacked by
Secondly, I will give credit where credit's due. I shat on other stories in the past for having protagonists whose actions or lack of actions were contrived or unrealistic for the sake of the story, but Joel is a spoiled, like, do-nothing with dreams of becoming a rock star. So I totally believe that this character would not report that he just committed vehicular manslaughter against a child. Finally, you got believable character motivations down pat, and it's only book 11. Otherwise, this story was just kind of meh. The, evil kids at play statue follows Joel around and doesn't say anything, so I guess it's Blackbird syndrome again. And then there's the ending where Joel eventually turns into another kids at play statue because, as it turns out, they're not really just kids at play statues, they're Faz kids at play statues. Ooh! Wow. The lore. The intertwining. The genius world building. Maybe they're onto something. Maybe the FNAF games would have been scarier if this had been the antagonist. But yeah, Kids at Play was one of the stupider stories I've read, even though it actually does something believable with its protagonist. It's not good. Just, next, please. Just move on to the next one. As an 11-year-old, Amy abandons her friend Mary Jo at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, at the mercy of a mysterious stranger. A decade later, the alleged kidnapper is out of prison, and Amy sets off on a journey to find closure, vengeance, and maybe Mary Jo. This is another one that really sidelined me. The narrative and tone were something I'd expect to find in like a hard case crime story. An incident in someone's past, a detective story years later to put the pieces back together, obviously filtered and diluted through the lens of FNAF, but still a refreshing change of pace nonetheless. To be honest, I wish this story were one of the FNAF novels, or even framed like the Stitch Wraith saga. Because unfortunately, a story like this just does not work in the context of a Fazbear Fright. Let me explain. Here's another instance where the setup had to be super contrived for the story to work. In part 1, the kids are playing at this like hide and seek maze game at Freddy Fazbear's, and let me tell you, this thing was designed to cause trouble. Players hide in little cubby holes that open and close automatically depending on what point in the game it is, but there's no way to actually open them from the inside. You can probably imagine where this is going. Now, based on what we know about Fazbear Entertainment, it's believable that they don't take proper safety precautions with their stuff.
Lefty is $5!
But are you really telling me this game doesn't automatically open its doors when it's a game over, or if there's a power malfunction? There's not even a safety latch inside the doors so a kid can manually unlock it if they're trapped or scared? Even in the OG game, the doors were powered shut. They opened up if they ran out of power. And why exactly did no employees ever check this game when the day was over and when games were completed? And why exactly were Amy and Mary Jo the last 2 kids to play this game for over 10 years and counting? Care to explain that one, co-authors?
No.
So in case you haven't guessed, this all leads up to 21-year-old Amy finding Mary Jo as a 10-year-old but a dead mummified corpse inside the cubbyhole she was hiding in because they technically never finished their game. And yes, this scene is very well done. It's truly horrifying and tragic. But all that tragedy comes crashing down when you put more than 2 brain cells to this ridiculous setup. And this is exactly what I mean. Maybe if a story like this were given more time to properly flesh out, given the proper context and information to explain this setup, which on its face sounds ludicrous, then maybe I'd forgive it. But no, instead it's trapped to the confines of a short story in the Fazbear Frights. The other big frustrating thing about this story was the character of Emmett Tucker, who is the alleged kidnapper slash murderer. The story gives him a pretty convincing and believable alibi, and he does have a tragic backstory about him too, but we still don't learn anything else about him. There's a scene where Amy finally confronts Emmett Tucker, and the conversation they have is so laden with implication, it could have and should have been stretched out to like a chapter or two, if this were in the context of a novel. But no, it's compressed down to a few pages, and the explosive conclusion to their encounter just feels rushed as a result. So yeah, this is one of the more frustrating stories I've read because it's a good story trapped inside the Fazbear Frights. It made me hungry for a story that sadly won't come into fruition based on the sheer nature of the Faz books alone. And now we finally hit the conclusion of the Stitch Wraith saga, which became the Crap Trap Chronicles and ended as the Eleanor epic. And I guess that wrapped up nicely for whatever it was. Larson's basically tripping balls and wandering through different times and places, killing an incarnation of Eleanor in each time and place, which weakens her in real life. Meanwhile, Jake, as the Stitch Wraith, manages to get his strength back. He crawls over to Eleanor and sacrifices himself to take her out in real life, once and for all. They fully explain what Remnant is. Larson is left with Eleanor's cursed pendant, which wasn't an illusion disc, so fuck me, I guess. And, that's that. So, what did I think of the Stitch Wraith saga as a whole? My thoughts haven't changed. Started out super interesting as a sort of dark, subdued detective story about a hard-boiled investigator going after a mysterious, shadowy figure that's killing people. And then about halfway through, it just nosedived straight into silliness. Introducing Afton for 5 minutes and then ending with Eleanor as the big twist villain is one of the stupidest story decisions I've read in a long time. I guess it's cool that the time-traveling ball pit finally made its way back. Not only does it allow you to travel back in time, it also apparently contains all the souls of dead children. And Millie, of all people, gets her soul redeemed. Remember her from Count the Ways? This is like if someone's only frame of reference for writing a goth character was the goth kids from South Park, not realizing that the whole thing was supposed to be a comedy. What had the most potential, in my opinion, was the relationship between Jake and Andrew. There are these two spirits inside the Stitch Wraith, basically fighting for control over it, determining whether or not to do good or do bad. Jake's peaceful nature clashing with Andrew's chaotic nature. That was truly compelling. And then while they struggled, they could have cut back to Larson trying to track down the Stitch Wraith, trying to figure out exactly what it is and what it wants. If they had developed the whole story around that concept, I think that would have been super interesting and engaging. But no, instead we settle for the same stupid, melodramatic, overstuffed, climactic crap we saw in The Twisted Ones and The Fourth Closet. So we can finally close the book on the Stitch Wraith saga, and technically we can close the book on the Fazbear Frights as well, but there's 3 more in the Rejected Stories collection. Man, I'm telling you, if these are the ones that were rejected. As always, see you all next time.